The Gwaltney Group.
The following is a sponsored program paid for by Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. Welcome back to summer. It's Saturday on News Talk, 1340 KROC AM, 96.9 FM. I'm Andy Brownell. And, of course, we are with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. Now, is summer here to stay?
It's Minnesota. I can't predict that, but
well, it's not.
For one, welcome to 80-degree stuff.
But it's not. Me too. I for two. But it's not officially summer yet, right? We have.
True. That's true.
Like third week of June. Still spring.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So
June is tomorrow.
Bonus day.
It's still May.
Exactly. So when we have, but 3 weeks into June, it'll be summer. So, we're 3 weeks away from official summer. In the meantime, we can just say really, really nice spring weather.
Okay. I'm in the summer mode. Sorry.
Yeah, I am too. Always, though. Always. Well, it's still spring, so you should still be doing your spring cleaning. Have you done that already?
Yeah. Yeah. The yard's all cleaned up. There's projects that'll still take place over the summer, but yeah, it is largely completed.
Remember last week I told you that I hoped to spend the holiday weekend doing projects? Well, guess what I did? I did projects to the point where my body is still sore. Oh my God. We power washed our house. We power washed our retaining walls. We pulled weeds, did some exterior touch-up painting, painted some, restained the, not gazebo, but what's the other word for the little pergola? Yeah. So we worked. Got a lot done. Felt great.
Yeah. I out and about over the weekend, trying to do some fun things in addition to stuff around the house. It was pretty universal to see people out in their yards with some sort of tool in their hand doing something.
And true. I went to my niece's housewarming party on Memorial Day, and 2 doors down, and I had never been in her neighborhood. She just bought the house, just closed on it last Friday. 2 doors down, the garage was open, and there was stuff all over the apron on the driveway. And I thought, they're having a garage sale on Memorial Day. Nope. They're just cleaning their garage. Needs to get done. We
did one of those garage projects a couple years ago. So it's so nice now because it's actually organized. So it doesn't require that drag everything out of the garage.
Nice.
And, you just sweep up the floor and clean up that stuff to keep the garage tidy now. That was well worth the investment.
It is. That's the thing. Keep the house organized, keep the house clean. Funny story. My neighbor lady said to me, Robin, you're not selling your house, are you? And I said, no, why would you say that? And she said, well, you've been doing so much work around there. I said, it's because it's long overdue. We took care of my parents, and that took all of our extra time. So between work and them, and, believe me, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So it's fine that some of those projects got left undone, but now we're making up for lost time. So now we've got the projects. We're feeling pretty good right now.
All right. Well, again, I was out and about last weekend, and I'm not going to even say where in the city it was, but I went past a house with a for sale sign on it. And the grass had to be 8 inches tall in front of the house. There was stuff laying all over. I thought, what? Who's going to put their house on the market like that?
This is not going to help you guys. It is not going to help you. If this would have been 4 years ago, when the houses were flying off the market because there was such a shortage of supply and the interest rates were so low that everybody wanted houses, and they didn't want one house. They wanted as many houses as they could get their hands on, a lot of them, right? So that was different. Now, you guys, take my advice very seriously when I say really put some elbow grease in, get that place ship shape. Now, there are a lot of sellers that live that way, because I've been to a lot of listing appointments in my day, and some of them are so ultra organized that there's no way they just whipped it into shape like that, right? I mean, that's the way they live. And boy, that is what I call a realtor's dream. Now, on the other hand, there are people who don't take care of their houses. The house is a mess, and then they need to get it ready for the market. So they open any drawer, closet, garage, and start throwing stuff. Well, all you're doing is moving your mess from one place to the other. It's not going to help you. I mean, it's pretty obvious when a house hasn't been maintained and they try to spruce it up. One of the worst things is you come into a home and it doesn't smell clean. It either smells just like a dirty house or pets or whatever and then they have the obnoxiously strong air fresheners trying to mask the smell. No. It is not a good combination. There is nothing more appealing to buyers, I will tell you this, from walking into thousands and thousands of houses in the last 25 years with so many different buyers. Nothing turns people off like a bad smell in the house. And people don't want to see anybody else's dirt. Like, if you're going to put your house on the market, clean it up. And if you're not into cleaning, you don't like to clean, hire a cleaning company to have them clean it up, please.
When you say clean, you mean a deep clean, right?
I mean clean. Yeah, and I sometimes tell people, okay, I think what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to get you completely moved out onto your next place and then have a company come in and clean, like clean the carpets, paint the walls, clean the windows. I mean, we want to get you the most money we can get, and we want to get it in the least amount of time, right? We don't want to sit with the house on the market for months and months and months. I mean, the average days on market, depending on what your price range is, can be anywhere from 30 to 60 days right now. Right. And so we want to make sure that we're going to get it sold in those 30 to 60 days and not sit and wait 90 to 120 days because A, we didn't prep the house for the market, or worse yet, we overpriced it.
You know, I'm a car guy, and it just, when you think your house is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, even on the low end of the market,
right?
And then you look at a car, and if you're out buying a car, even a used car, those same things apply. If you hop into a used car and it's got a weird smell, you're instantly not interested in it. Everybody waxes up their cars and cleans the tires and vacuums them out before they put them up for sale because they know perfectly well they're more likely to sell it, number one, and they might get a few more bucks.
That is such a great analogy because people can wrap their heads around that because a lot more people have sold and bought cars than have sold and bought houses, right? So that is really true. It's like make it look the absolute best it can look. And you can always tell when you get into a car, if you're buying a used car, you can tell if they have just actually maintained it that well or if they just tried to spruce it up for the market. Can't you?
And air fresheners are always the biggest clue as to what's going on.
Biggest clue.
Same thing in the house.
Smoking in here. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, you want to do yourself a favor. I mean, yeah, granted, you're doing me a big favor because it's much, much better to list a house that's ready for the market. But you're doing yourself a big favor because that's how you're going to get your offer the soonest, and that's how you're going to get the most money.
Well, and I imagine if you're talking to the seller who is just not interested in putting in the work, talking them into spending the money for a professional cleaner, is that difficult? Because I imagine that that's a fairly modest investment. You're going to get that back.
Correct. That is such a good point. Even when it's not super modest, like I had one recently where we had to have a lot of interior painting done. We had to have a very deep clean. We had to have carpets shampooed. We had to have windows washed. So with all of that, he actually spent, I want to say he spent $5,000.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
But I was able to price his house probably $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000 for sure, higher than I would have priced it. Well, I personally wouldn't have listed it without all that work done because it would have been just a disaster in the making. But I probably got him at the end of the day, all of his money back and then another $5,000 to $8,000
for doing it.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be worth it for sure.
Spring cleaning. Let's get to it.
Yeah, and honestly, like I just had a lady, she's like, well, I mean, her house was very, very clean. It really was. And I said, but you have such a beautiful view. I think it would be worth washing your windows. And I said, your fence looks to be in really good condition, but looks like it could use some fresh paint. And your front patio really is in need of a power washing. So I got her the people. She just said, do you know anybody that would do these things? And I gave her names and numbers. And before we even put the house on the market, she had all the windows cleaned. She had the fence painted. She had the power washing done. And she's like, wow, why didn't I do this every summer? Well, this looks fabulous.
Now I want to keep it.
Yeah, well, kind of. She didn't want to sell it in the first place. But yeah, maintenance. It's so important and taking care of it. But especially if you're getting ready to put on the market, make it look like you would want it to look if you were out shopping for a house. It's pretty much easy.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9. To Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results. It's Saturday morning on News Talk 1340 KROC AM 96.9 FM. And we were talking about getting the houses ready to be sold. And I know a big part of what you do, Robin, and do so well with your experience in this market is advising the seller on what they should ask for the house. And right. I had read an article earlier this week that pointed out that that's probably the key thing you can do to make sure your home sells. Right.
Yeah, that's very true. If you overprice it, what's going to happen? Again, I keep referencing back to the way it was when the market was just crazy a few years back. It didn't matter if you overpriced it because people were paying over what houses are worth, but that's not the case now, right? There's more homes to choose from. Doesn't mean values have dropped. I do not want anybody to think that what I'm saying is houses are less valuable, because the fact is that over the last 5 years, houses have increased in value on average 57%. Okay.
Wow.
57% in the past 5 years, prices have climbed. So it's not that I'm telling you your house is becoming less valuable. What I am telling you is it's worth what it's worth, right? It's not worth what you want. It's not worth what you want. It's worth what it's worth. So it is so important to price it right, because if you overprice it, what's going to happen is it's going to sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and sit. And then you're going to be forced to do a price reduction. And now people are like, oh, what's wrong with that house? It's been sitting there very, very long time. When there's a very good chance, if a house has been sitting on the market 3 or 4 times as long as the average house in that price range, is probably just simply overpriced. It's probably that basic of a problem.
But then you have that perception, that negative perception attached to it.
And then they start to say, oh, now the seller's getting desperate. It's been sitting on the market for 6 months. They need to sell it. They don't live there anymore. Let's come in with this really insulting lowball offer. That's when the fun begins.
The fun. So when you price a home, how much of it's just intuition? How, from a person outside of the industry, and I imagine for many people who are looking at selling their house, it's a little bit of a mystery, right?
If you're counting on your Zestimate, you're probably going to be disappointed, okay? Because chances are that's not the right number. And so I would not recommend that. Sometimes the Zestimates are very accurate, and sometimes they're so far off, it is just ridiculous. So not at all reliable. And no, pricing a house should not be just a gut feeling. It better be based on data, right? And it's so easy now because we have so much data at our fingertips to go out there. And if we're comparing a house that's easy to compare to others, let's say it's a very basic 4-bedroom, 3-bath, split level in a certain neighborhood, built in a certain era, and there's 100 of them, it's going to be really easy to come with a real accurate price. Now, if it's something that somebody built out on a couple of acres and they maybe did something really awesome with, I mean, if it becomes more of a unique property, it's going to be harder to price. But I mean, if you have somebody that has experience pricing houses, we know how to find the comps. I had a really good conversation with an appraiser earlier this week, and he said that things are really changing in the appraisal world because they're using one form, not a form. There used to be different forms for different house styles. Like, is it a duplex? Is it a fourplex? Is it a single family home? Now it's just one form. And he said, if you think you had a hard time reading an appraisal before, I mean, there is an art to it. This is not a guessing game, and you have to know how to take this data that's out there at our fingertips, right? I mean, it's in the tax records, it's in the MLS, it's in a lot of different places that we can get it. Now, there are some places that the general public can get it as well, but we have more data, more information, and if we use that right, and then we make the additions and the subtractions for maybe what your house does have or doesn't have that the comps have. So very much pricing a house is very similar to appraising a house. It's just not in the same depth, right?
Okay.
We don't have to write all the little details, but we use the same process.
I imagine it's really tough when you have a unicorn house. And the reason I'm thinking of that is I saw an article in the Star Tribune that a home up in Lake Minnetonka just got listed for $55 million. How do they come up with the asking price for something like that?
I'm guessing that they based some of that on what the people have put into the house and then the location of the house and on the lake. And let's face it, if you're going to buy something that costs $55 million, I don't know. I think it's going to be about how badly somebody wants it and what they're willing to pay for it. But what's really kind of a fun story about that house is Tom Duxbury's daughter got married, and the owner of that home was at the wedding. And Tom came back to work, and he's like, oh my gosh, I met a guy at my daughter's wedding, and he's built this mansion on Lake Minnetonka, and it's this many square feet. And I mean, he was just going on and on about this house and telling us about this house, and has a bowling alley and a golf simulator and this and that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I said, that sounds amazing. I said, well, if they're that close of friends that they were invited to your daughter's wedding, I mean, they were on the groom's side, of course. Tom didn't know him until the day of the wedding. But I said, maybe you'll get a chance to see it someday. And he goes, who knows? And then I'm not kidding. Maybe 2 weeks later, he goes, you guys, remember that man I was telling you about with that amazing house? He passed away. I'm like, oh
no.
Yeah. So that's probably why that house is on the market.
Oh, man, that's sad.
It is sad. Very sad.
$55 million in Minnesota must just be one of the most incredible properties you've ever seen.
Well, did you see the pictures?
Yeah, the pictures are pretty amazing.
Oh, I mean, it's
I didn't know it had a bowling alley in it.
It looks like a Four Seasons resort, the whole resort. Yeah, no, it is quite amazing. Well, since you're going to talk about unicorns, the house that we've done stories on, that there's been lawsuits on, the big green house up on top of the hill above Bamber Valley School,
sure.
That one, it's no longer there. The wrecking crews were there 2 weeks ago. I mean, I assume they've finished in 2 weeks. I haven't driven up there to see, but I saw them there 2 weeks ago. It's going down.
Wow. Well, that's sad.
Yep.
But at least the property now, something will be built there that
has a really, really good view. It's got a really good view. And but all the heartache that house has caused to so many different people between, disgruntled neighbors, the sellers went through it was a lot. Different people. The amount of
money they must have lost on that deal. Holy cow.
Unbelievable. So anyway, anybody's curious, that house is gone, and the people who own it are going to be building something new there. So
I bet it won't
everybody's
be as tall.
Nope, it definitely won't. And it won't be that thing was so big. Oh my goodness, that was a big house.
All right, Robin, let's
Yes.
take a break.
Okay.
Okay, back in just a flash with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group Remax results at News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group Remax Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Thanks for tuning in Saturday morning with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group Remax Results. And Robin, I see the rental housing units continue to be constructed all over the place in Rochester.
Wow.
And it always, I don't think perplexes me, but obviously there's a market for it. People are renting. How do you, if you're one of these folks who are in the situation, I imagine many of them do want to buy a house. And how do you decide which way to go?
All
Buying
right.
the house
So
or renting?
that is a loaded question. I know we a lot, and for everybody it's going to be different. But if you can afford to buy a house, and it's an option for you, you're credit worthy, and you've got the income, I will promise you it is the way to go. Okay? People say, oh, but then when I leave town, I have the problem of selling it. Well, doggone it, then make sure when you buy a house, you're working with somebody that's going to help you, guide you to buy something that is going to be very sellable. And then not only are you going to get your money back, you should make some money. I mean, this is how most people build wealth, right? Is through real estate. So I will say, if it's an option for you, buying will win over renting almost every single time. Because what do I say? When you're making a house payment, your house becomes that bank account that you're living in, right? When you're making a rent payment, you're just paying somebody else for your shelter. And I get it. Sometimes that's a necessary route. But if you can be building wealth, gaining equity every time you make that monthly rent, really mortgage payment, it's becoming to your benefit, helping you build your wealth for long term, then of course that's the way you want to do it. Do you know, I think I'll share something with you. I just read an article that real estate is voted the best long-term investment for the 12th year in a row.
Yeah, not even remotely surprised.
Yeah, 37%. So the next one was gold at 23%. And then stocks at 16%, savings accounts and CDs at 13%, bonds at 5%, and cryptocurrency at 4%. So real estate still number one. Well, so yes, I will tell you, definitely if you're in a position to buy versus rent. Yeah. I mean, I just said earlier in the show that house prices have increased by 57% in the past 5 years. So the values are not going down. The values are not staying stagnant. If you're watching the market and you're watching price reductions, what you're seeing is people that started with their price too high. They overpriced the house from the get-go.
Yep. Let's see. Seems to be the story that you see repeated over and over and over again. Hey, with a few minutes left, do you have any listings we can talk about?
Well, all right. Let's just talk about some of the newer ones. How about?
Okay.
All right. So I have one over in Wabasha at 67457 152nd Avenue. That's just been on the market for 1 day. And that one is $399.9. It was built in 2010. And it has just under 2,000 square feet, 3 beds, 2 baths, and a 2-car garage.
All right.
There's another one in Wabasha. So, hey, if you're looking to move to Wabasha, you're in good shape. This one was built in 1891.
Whoa.
And it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 836 Milligan Avenue. And that one is $215,000. It's just about 1,400 square feet, and it is just 2 days on the market. In Rochester, there's a new one. This one is in Memorial Park area. It's 705 10th Street Southwest. It's a ranch-style house right on the corner of 10th and 7th. That one just came on the market yesterday, and it's 4 beds, 2 baths. It was built in 1946, and that one is $389,900, which is a find in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wow.
Now we have that. I did talk about this one last week. 2513 Aspen Lane Southwest. This one is a charmer. It is a really, really cute house. And it has 4 bedrooms and 4 baths. It actually has a rentable apartment in the lower level with a separate entrance, which has been nice. It supplemented the payment for the current seller. I had this one on the market for 1 week. We've had open houses that have been back-to-back traffic, lots of interest. I have 2 realtors who have notified me saying, hey, let me know if anything happens because I'm going to be writing an offer. But that's been going on for a couple of days and don't have any offer yet. So you haven't missed it yet, but I don't think it's going to be around long. We have one at 5094 King Arthur Drive Northwest. That's just under 2 weeks on the market. That one's $369,900, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 car garage, 2,000 square feet. And then we have Neptune Place, which is also just 2 weeks on the market. And that one is a 5 bedroom, 4 bath, 3 car garage, big 2-story. It's just about 3,996 square feet. And it was built in 2005. And that one is ready to move into. So yeah, I've got some good choices. And those are all, like I say, listed within the last 2 weeks. And then we have some more that have been on the market a few more days. But in the respect of our time, I guess I'll just end there.
Okay. And go to the website, right? If you want to see what those other homes are or any of these, you'll find them.
Absolutely.
GwaltneyGroup.com.
That's right. And if you need anything, never, ever hesitate to call me on my cell phone because I promise you, I will take your call. If I'm unavailable, I will most definitely call you back. And that number is, of course, 507-259-4926.
All right, Robin. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll chat again next Friday or next Saturday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, or Friday, whatever day you want to change the, change the program to. I'm pretty easy to
I'll
get
have to
along.
ask the boss about that one.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, thanks, Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group, RE/MAX results on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.